We've added a variable to our vehicle. So if you select the vehicle in the inspector, you can see that speed variable under the script. Now when we press play, we can actually click on that speed variable, drag it, and we can control the speed. So we've got some good control, but our camera is still locked in the same place. So we want to make it so we can actually follow the player as they move back and forth. To do that, we'll create a new script. So underneath your assets folder in your project window, if you go down to scripts, right-click on scripts, create a new C# script. We're going to name this script follow player because this will attach to our main camera, and the behavior will be that the camera will follow the player. Make sure you name it correctly with the capital F and the capital P with no spaces. And then we're going to left click on follow player and drag it onto our main camera. Now, if we click on our main camera in our hierarchy, you can see the follow player script has been applied as a component. So now we're going to open our follow player script by double clicking on it. So now our script has opened in our IDE. And what we're going to do is we're going to use public variables, but in a very different way this time. So what we can do is we can actually get a public variable. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to use a class or a type, in this case, a game object. And so, like I said before, things like our obstacle or our vehicle are game objects in our project. And so actually, we can get references directly to our different game objects like our player. If we check in Unity, you can see now on our follow player script, it's added this line of code. If we select our main camera in the hierarchy, you can see that the follow player script has this player variable, and it's looking for a reference to a game object now. And so in fact, we can actually left click and drag our vehicle from our hierarchy into that box, and now our player variable is tied to our vehicle. This is one way that you can get a reference to an object in the scene for another object to use. In this case, our main camera to use the vehicle. So variables can be used in really powerful ways, not just to store numbers, but to store references to other things that already exist in our game. Now what we're going to do is we can do a really interesting thing where we can actually get the transform. So this gets us the current transform component of the game object that this script is applied to, in this case, our camera. So we get our camera's transform, and we can actually just get its position overall. And so this will give us the X, the Y, and the Z of where our camera currently is. Now, we're going to use that equal sign, that assignment operator. We are going to set our camera's position. Now that we have a reference to our player, we can actually use player. The player also has a transform component, and we can actually get that position from the player's transform component. And then if we semicolon to end our statement here and make sure we save, so now our camera's position will be set to the player's current position. So now, if I press play and you watch in the scene view, watch our camera and our vehicle, our camera should be set to the position of our vehicle. There you go. Kind of works. It's underneath the car, which is close enough to what we want for now, so we can watch it as it drives down the road, runs into the different boxes. Cool little perspective. So what you're going to do is, in Unity, make sure you go to your project window, right-click on scripts. You're going to create a new script, a C# script. You're going to name it follow player, capital F, no space, capital P. And then you can left-click and drag it onto your main camera, or just add it as a component using that little handy button in our inspector for the main camera. You're then going to open up the follow player script by double-clicking on it. In our follow player script, you're then going to create a new variable. This time it will also be public, but this time it'll be a game object variable. So that will be the type of variable that we're creating. and we're going to call it player. So that'll be the name. And then in our update method, add this line of code. So you get the camera's current transform position, and you're going to set that to the current position of our player's transform component. And then last but not least, a really easy step to forget is make sure you select your main camera in the hierarchy. In the inspector, you can see on the follow player script, there's a player variable that has no game object attached. So you're going to make sure you left click on the vehicle in your hierarchy and drag it into that box. So then your player variable is assigned to the vehicle in our scene. So then when you press play, you can watch it as it drives down all the way down the road. Now it's your turn.